In this video, I'm going to share what it's like to be full-time in an RV and driving a Tesla as part of our setup. So I really think that to understand our decision point for bringing a Tesla on our full-time RV adventure, there's some backstory to be told. Basically, for 7 years before we jumped into this life about a year ago, so about 8 years ago, I started consuming all the YouTubes on full-time RV life and much more. And we started out with the idea of a new fifth wheel. So started narrowing down which brands were better quality. We thought we wanted new. We did want new. We didn't want to trust that somebody else had taken care of everything along the way. So many people say buy a few years old and let somebody else knock the kinks out, but that's a lot of faith that they did it. They did the work and they did quality work. So we'll buy new and we'll just take care of it. And then when you look at the cost of a new fifth wheel, and then the cost of a nice big pickup truck to pull that safely and to be able to stop it safely, there's two sides to that equation. You know, we were in a budget range that for about that or a little bit more, we could look at a used Class A. And the chassis in the Class A's and those types of rigs, from what I could tell, seemed to be way, way, way sturdier than the chassis of basically anything you tow. So we started touring in the area at dealerships and looking at Class A's to see if the difference in the ceiling height and the amount of storage was going to be different. So did we see ourselves being able to make that change? And we did. And the idea was really the cause for that shift, besides the chassis, was um, we'd driven a Tesla Model 3 for 3 years to that point, and the maintenance cost on it was virtually nothing. And so I started wondering, well, what if we towed a Tesla in a trailer, an enclosed trailer behind a motorhome? The maintenance cost being almost nothing, the fuel cost being far less than gas. We had 3 years experience driving a Tesla across the country. We know you can take them on long road trips. It doesn't add near the time that people assume. The cost of those cars is dramatically less than what most people think. So it really made sense, and especially once you get into it, the ongoing financials add up really nicely as far as keeping costs down. So then we traded both the cars in for a new Model Y because it sits up a little higher, it's got more room all around, and it allowed us to get a red one. We had a white one the first time, and we always wanted red with white interior. That's how we kind of got to the point of towing a Tesla. And then the reality was there's superchargers all over the place that Tesla has already built out. Beyond that, there's lots of public chargers at grocery stores and different places. And every campground we're at, there is fuel sticking up out of the ground all over the place. So every 50 amp pedestal is a source of fuel for our car. And so far, we've never had anybody tell us you cannot charge your car here. So we've learned over the years, and specifically the last years we've traveled with it, all the adapters that we thought we had that were enough, we've had to add even more just to give ourselves more flexibility, more opportunities to charge, things like that. So, you know, I bought a 30 amp. I've got all the adapters, I've got all the extension cords, and every time I say that, I find one more that we have to meet a situation. The most handy addition has been a splitter for a Y splitter for the 50 amp cord, and that has allowed us to charge it at the best speed possible, sharing the 50 amp with the house. And the way that works is in the app, the Tesla app on your smartphone, you can dial down the amps that it draws. So the mobile charger that comes from Tesla can go up to 32 amps of draw on a 50 amp. That's, you know, two hot legs. So that's pretty fast. You can go empty to full overnight on a 50 amp. So if we keep that down to 16 amps on the setting, then we can run both the air conditioners and cook and run the microwave and basically run the house without blowing the breaker. Much above 16, we have some risks. So it's worked well, and it has not yet prevented us from doing anything we wanted to do. The most questionable thing was the Red Bay, Alabama trip. It is a dry, dry desert for electric cars. The nearest supercharger to Red Bay is an hour west in Tupelo or an hour and a half east in Huntsville. And the nearest destination chargers are a half hour or more away. So We knew we would have to charge at the campground, and if they happened to tell us you cannot, then we were going to be, in a real pickle, and I would have to talk my way into them letting us do that. So far, everything's still great. We're looking at Glacier National Park next summer. And as I go into a lot of deep, detailed planning for the sake of reservations and campgrounds, I also look at charging infrastructure, distances to places we want to go. Where are the Tesla superchargers? Where are new superchargers going in? Where are the third-party chargers? So on and so forth. So I look into in depth around Glacier because it is such a big place. Black Hills, for example, is a much smaller geographic area. So the idea of distance and charging is literally a no-brainer, no issue at all. Glacier is a different beast, and it's going to work. I've put a significant number of hours now into planning the Glacier trip, including taking the car on some of those beautiful, beautiful drives. Uh, from the west side to the east side of Glacier. And even though, ironically, there's no gas station stops, they tell you, fill your car up before you go. There's no services on these roads. It turns out there's multiple places to charge an electric car, so it's really backwards from normal. Normally, there's lots of gas stations and no electric in comparison. So we're going to be just fine. We can go everywhere we want. And in fact, from the place we plan to stay, to go west from there up to Eureka, Montana, and into Canada, it's a piece of cake. There's superchargers everywhere. We can get up to Calgary, we can get up to Banff, and see all this stuff up in that stretch and make some long but nice day trips to the north and see some cool stuff. So that's kind of the history of it. That's kind of the planning of it. And next I want to share kind of the logistics of it at different campgrounds and what works well, what we've run into that was a challenge, and how we overcome those challenges. First of all, you must know that every RV campground is not the same in terms of site length and availability of your car being parked with you. In some cases, we have to store the trailer, often a lot somewhere on the side of the campground. Some places we can have it with us or nearby. Um, in some cases, like this one, this is the perfect case for us. We have the RV with us, the trailer with us at the end, and then the car is parked right next to the site or on the site, and we're able to easily hit that 50 amp plug with the car for easy charging. In some locations, though, the site length is just barely enough that we can park the RV and the trailer, but there's no room for the car. In this case, we might put the car inside the trailer to charge it, or we may have to park it off in a field across the road here and charge it when we get opportunities, but not constantly like we prefer. In this case, the campground had a site that we could park right across the way in the grass, and then we would put the car into the trailer and just plug it in to pick up a slow trickle charge over several more days. Eventually, the owners changed hands, and the new owners allowed us to use this available campsite that had no sewer hookups, and they never used it. And the car had its own dedicated 50 amp. They did not charge us extra for the site, they just charged us actual electric usage. That was nice. Here in Arkansas, we had room at the front of the rig to park the car at kind of an angle, and I just run the cords and adapters on the ground to where the car is parked. We can reach anywhere around the rig and around the setup with what we have. Here's a close-up of the car being backed into the front space of the motorhome, and the charger cord there spooled up, and the car is charging typically on 50 amp these days with the new setup we have with that Y splitter cable. In some cases, again, the sites are even wider, so we can choose anywhere alongside the rig to bring the car to park. And again, we can reach the pedestal on the other side of the rig in this configuration as well. Here in Tucson, a similar situation where the sites are extremely wide, very long, so we kind of had our pick of the litter in terms of where to park the car and how we got the charge to the car. So this is another ideal situation. At this site here in Casa Grande, you can see past the smoker. The car sitting over there is probably the only picture I had of the car next to the rig. It was another good spot because it's next to us and it's easy to charge. I thought this cactus was really cool. Rhoda got a good perspective shot here. And then one night I saw a full moon, and I thought, well, that's another photo worth having. So this is unedited. That's just the real deal. A natural photo there. I would start by saying that we do not have all the adapters. I only bought Tesla adapters from them or third parties as we needed them. There's a kit that comes with 8 adapters, and I didn't want to spend all the money on stuff that we might never need. So when I knew we would need one, we would order it. We got the CCS combo adapter. This guy's pretty handy. This is probably going to be a standard. Well, it was going to be the standard until everybody adopted Tesla in the past 6 months for the EV charging standard. This is a spare mobile connector in the box, unopened. The CCS is good for high-speed charging. Here is a picture of the 50 amp Y-splitter cable. It's coming directly off the pedestal. The piece on the left goes toward the motorhome. The piece on the right is plugged into our 50 amp 30-foot RV extension cord and going to the car. And then, of course, the mobile adapter is plugged into the other end of that extension cord and plugged into the car. And you can see as we work our way around the rig, that 30 feet pretty much always gets us where we want to go to the car. The mobile adapter cord is 18 feet or so, 18 or 20. So within 48-ish feet from the pedestal, we can always get to the car. I usually leave things spooled up under the rig just for waterproofing a little bit, and reach in and pull the charging cable out and then plug into the port. Here we can see I had the mobile charger in the back of the car. I kind of leave it in there when we're not using it just to keep it out of the elements. Those things are not waterproof. So in Red Bay, we had this setup where there was a chance of rain, so I ended up wrapping a trash bag around them to keep the water out. That kind of worked. Eventually, I decided for this long winter stay, we needed something more permanent, so I built this box and custom made it for weatherproofing. And again, just showing the site in Nebraska where we got the dedicated site with 50 amp all alone for the car. This is how easy it is to plug and unplug the car to get it charged. And it was really nice to have this dedicated 50 amp. It was the fastest charging ability we've had so far being on the road with this thing, but that was really ideal. Something we knew going into this was that sometimes they ask you to move your trailer if it's in a storage site when you're at a campground. And instead of the $8,000 trailer valet that I had in mind originally, I decided to add the towing package to the Tesla for $1,000. The Model Y can tow 3,500 pounds very easily. If you just manage the tongue weight properly, then you can use the car to move the trailer around. And at our very first stay, they had us put the trailer in a spot to store it and changed their mind the very next day and asked us to move the trailer to another site. And the site they had us move it into did not have room for the motorhome to actually fit to get the trailer in. So it was an ideal time to test the car for moving the trailer. It worked great. It has a trailer mode. The lights hook up to it, all that stuff. I wouldn't want to tow this trailer down the road with this car, honestly. And we did, if you see this hitch, that's from the motorhome. We did add a better hitch for the car for doing this. And we haven't done it very often, but it is handy from time to time to tow the trailer with the car. Let's take a quick look at some of the details regarding the trailer that we tow the car in. All right, at this point the car is ready to bring in. Got the ramp set up. So we'll pull it in as far forward as possible. One of the things we've been cautious about, because we had it bump one time, is the front windshield comes up pretty close here. So Rhoda had the great idea that we were able to move this shelf forward. So we did move it several inches forward. That gives us more car over the front of the axles. And that shifted some weight for us forward. We've got to measure. And with the way we're strapping the car in now, on all 4 tires, as well as using these 2 D-hooks back here, we put the hitch in the car. We put a strap on the hitch to help hold it back. I feel like I can get less than 3 or 4 inches maybe from this. Normally I'm like in the 7, 8, 9 inch range from this board to the windshield, just because I don't want to bump into it and break stuff. the car or the shelves or all the stuff. So with the extra strapping that we're doing, I've got some confidence that we can pull forward, and I think every inch forward over the axles here is going to shift our weight forward. Another great feature this trailer came with was the ability to open this side door and remove the wheel well so the door of the car can open easily. This allows me to drive in or drive out and easily just climb in through the door and not have to try to squeeze along the sides of the trailer. A little known feature on the Model Y, there's a transformer button on the touchscreen. So when we feel like doing some off-roading, we just push that button and the car turns into this amazing beast. This one's pretty embarrassing for me. I was following the car navigation and almost drove into this giant hole in the road, but I got stopped just in the nick of time. No, the truth is this is Meteor Crater, and it was on our way on the trip back from Arizona last spring, and so we stopped to see it. It's a really cool point of interest, and I'm glad it was on the way because I'm not sure we'd go out of our way to see it. The tow hitch on the car has also allowed us to add a very nice bike rack to the back. And we had always wanted to have electric bikes as part of this adventure. There's a lot of neat places to ride bikes as we're out and about. And so in Quartzsite last year, we got a super great deal on a couple of these electric bikes and picked those up there and then added the hitch a little bit later. And so we enjoy bike riding. We're not serious bikers, but the electric helps with the pedal assist because we're not out there trying to become major biking enthusiasts. We just want to be outdoors and see as much as possible. And this really enables us to do that without a lot of strain and effort on our bodies. The car has been a good tool for transporting these around. Sometimes we can ride directly from where we're staying, and sometimes we have to put them on the car and drive a few miles to get to the head of the trail or wherever we're going to go biking around. Another cool feature in the car is the backup camera can be turned on at any time, even if you're not in reverse, so we can take a look back and make sure the bikes are safe and still riding along very nicely. A nice feature Tesla added in a free software update is the ability to see live streaming camera views from your car in real time in all four directions from your smartphone. So from anywhere you can get this view. You can also increase any quadrant to the full size of the screen and see a single camera in a larger view. This is nice for just looking around outside when you're inside to see what's going on if you hear a bump in the night. I know third-party companies make these for all kinds of cars, but somebody makes one for the Model Y that fits perfectly on the back. And it's kind of neat because we can sleep six in our motorhome, but if we ever had more guests than that, we could have this as a guest room, assuming there's space where the car is parked. But you could have the easily have the air conditioner or heater running to keep the space comfortable if it's not ideal weather outside or whatever. So we have this as a future only if we ever have a true use case for it, if money is feeling good at the time, stuff like that. But we have this add-on room that we can create with the car by adding this tent that is custom made for the Model Y and creates a pretty nice room, a pretty nice space. I suppose it could be a doghouse for me if it comes down to it, but for now I'm thinking of this as a future guest room space and optional someday. Since I mentioned the low cost of operating a Tesla, I wanted to give a specific example. And in this case, Rhoda had run some errands this day, about 30 miles round trip, 28 maybe. And when she gets back, we always plug it in. We want to always be charging. And you can see in the app after a charge session finishes how many kilowatt hours were added. In this case, 15 kilowatt hours. And where we're staying, it is 12 cents per kilowatt hour. So this is $1.80. And when you run the numbers against gas, it's about half, give or take, the cost of running the same errand with gas. Other maintenance that you would have to deal with in a Tesla is wiper fluid. And it's a common running joke among Tesla owners about doing their maintenance and grabbing a jug of wiper fluid and sharing pictures and laughing about it. Obviously, you have tire replacement, you have wiper blades, but really the maintenance on a Tesla is not similar to a gas car much at all. Other charging prices might involve Tesla superchargers when you're away from home or taking a road trip. Those costs are higher per kilowatt hour, but not terrible. And other third-party chargers, which can be free or very low cost, often at grocery stores or hotels and places like that. I'll just share my favorite picture here as I do my closing comments. I know that the Tesla option is not for everybody. Not everybody's even sold on electric cars at this point. That's fine. I just want to show that it's entirely possible. We've been full-time for over a year and it has worked well. It has helped control costs, and honestly, it's a whole lot of fun. So this won't be a high view count because it's not applying to a lot of people, but for people who are searching for Teslas and motorhomes and RV and full-timing, this video is for them. And for anyone who's mildly entertained by this topic, and to that point, if this is entertaining or useful at all to you, please like and subscribe. It's free for you. It's easy to do. Helps us a lot. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching.